when 72-year-old cashier Rosa Martinez gave Elvis Presley too much change at Jimmy's Corner Grocery in February 1971. What should have been a simple mistake became the most important lesson about money and dignity that the king of rock and roll ever received. Elvis tried to give the extra $7 back, but Rosa refused to take it, thinking he was offering her charity. What followed was a conversation that would teach Elvis the difference between having money and understanding its true value, delivered by a grandmother who worked 3 jobs to support her disabled grandson and had more wisdom about wealth than any financial advisor Elvis had ever met. But let me tell you how Elvis ended up in that small neighborhood grocery store at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday night, because the chain of events that led to this life-changing encounter will show you that the most profound teachers often appear the most unexpected places. Elvis had been driving around Memphis for hours, feeling restless and disconnected after a difficult recording session. He was tired of Graceland's isolation, tired of being surrounded by people who treated him like he was made of glass, tired of restaurants that cleared out when he arrived and stores that closed just so he could shop alone. On impulse, he'd put on his most anonymous clothes, a plain flannel shirt, old jeans, and a baseball cap, and decided to do something he hadn't done in years: go grocery shopping like a normal person. He chose Jimmy's Corner Grocery specifically because it was small, family-owned, and in a working-class neighborhood where people minded their own business. The store was nearly empty when Elvis walked in around 9 p.m., just an hour before closing. Behind the single cash register sat an elderly Latina woman with gray hair pulled back in a neat bun, wearing a clean but well-worn uniform with Rosa embroidered on the pocket. She was reading a Spanish-language newspaper and looked up with a warm smile when Elvis entered. "Buenas noches," she said, then switched to accented English. "Good evening. Let me know if you need help finding anything." Elvis nodded and grabbed a small cart. He'd forgotten how peaceful it could be to just wander grocery aisles without anyone staring or asking for autographs. He picked up basics: milk, bread, eggs, some fruit, simple things that made him feel connected to ordinary life. As he shopped, he noticed Rosa watching other customers with genuine care. When a mother with 2 small children couldn't find the baby formula, Rosa left her register to help locate it. When an elderly man dropped his wallet and quarters scattered across the floor, she came around to help him gather them up, moving slowly because of what looked like arthritis in her hands. There was something about her kindness that reminded Elvis of his mother. The way Gladys had treated everyone with respect, regardless of their circumstances. The way she'd go out of her way to help neighbors, even when the Presleys barely had enough for themselves. When Elvis approached the checkout with his small basket of groceries, Rosa greeted him with the same warm smile she'd given everyone else. "Find everything okay, mijo?" she asked, beginning to scan his items. "Yes, ma'am. Thank you." As Rosa worked, Elvis noticed her hands shaking slightly. She moved deliberately, carefully, double-checking each price before entering it into the old mechanical register. "That'll be $12.50, she said, bagging his groceries with the same care she'd shown every customer. Elvis handed her a $20 bill. Rosa opened the register, counted out his change, and handed him $14.50, $7 too much. "Ma'am," Elvis said gently, "I think you gave me too much change. This should only be $7.50. Rosa looked at the money in his hand, then at her register. Her face flushed slightly with embarrassment. "Oh, mijo, you're right. I'm sorry. These old eyes, they don't work as good as they used to, especially when I'm tired." She started to take back the extra $7, but then something in her expression changed. She looked at Elvis more carefully, really looked at him, taking in his plain clothes, his humble demeanor, the gentle way he'd corrected her mistake, instead of just keeping the money. "You know what?" she said, pushing the money back toward him. "You keep it. You look like a good boy, and good boys deserve a little extra sometimes." "Ma'am, I can't take your money. This was just a mistake." "It's not my money. It's the store's money," Rosa said with a slight smile. "And if I made a mistake, then maybe God wanted you to have it. $7 isn't going to hurt, Mr. Jimmy." Elvis shook his head. "Really, I insist. This belongs to you, to the store." That's when Rosa's expression grew serious. She studied Elvis's face more intently, and he realized she was trying to figure out if he was being condescending to her. "Mijo," she said quietly, "are you trying to give me charity?" "No, ma'am, I'm just trying to give you back your money. Because if you think I need charity from strangers, you're wrong. I work for every penny I earn." Elvis heard the pride in her voice, the dignity that wouldn't allow her to be seen as someone who needed pity. "Ma'am, I didn't mean any offense," Elvis said. "I just know that money matters, especially to working people." Rosa looked at him for a long moment, then glanced at the clock on the wall. It was almost closing time, and the store was empty except for them. "You want to know about money, mijo?" she asked. "Sit down for a minute." She gestured to a small chair beside the counter that she used during slow periods. Something about her tone made Elvis sit down without question. "I'm 72 years old," Rosa began, beginning to close out the register. "I work here Tuesday through Saturday, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., Monday and Wednesday mornings. I clean offices downtown. Sunday afternoons, I babysit for my neighbor's kids." "3 jobs?" Elvis asked. "3 jobs," Rosa confirmed. "You know why?" Elvis shook his head. "My grandson, Miguel. He's 12 years old, and he's got cerebral palsy. Can't walk, can't talk good, needs special care. His mama, my daughter Carmen, she works double shifts at the hospital as a nurse's aide, but it's not enough for Miguel's therapy, his special equipment, his medicine." Rosa's voice was matter-of-fact without self-pity, but Elvis could hear the weight of responsibility underneath. "So I work 3 jobs, and you know what? I'm proud of every single one. When I count out change for customers here, when I scrub floors in those offices, when I sing lullabies to crying babies, every dollar I earn is helping Miguel have a better life." She finished counting the register drawer and looked directly at Elvis. "That's $7 you want to give back. That's not much money to most people, but to me, that's gas money to take Miguel to physical therapy. That's a week of his special vitamins. That's dignity, mijo, because it's money I earned by working, not money someone gave me because they felt sorry for me." Elvis felt his chest tighten. "I wasn't offering charity, ma'am. I was just being honest." "I know that now," Rosa said, her voice softening. "But you got to understand something about pride, especially the pride of people who work hard jobs for little money. We don't want pity, and we don't want handouts. We want to earn our way." Rosa began turning off lights and preparing to close the store, but she continued talking, and Elvis found himself hanging on every word. "You seem like a nice boy. So let me tell you something about money that took me 70 years to learn," she said. "Money isn't just about what you can buy. Money is about dignity. about taking care of the people you love, about feeling like you contribute something to the world. What do you mean? When I give Miguel his medicine that I paid for with my own work, he knows his abuela loves him enough to sacrifice for him. When I buy him books with the money I earned cleaning those offices, he learns that good things come from hard work. When I can pay his therapy bills without asking for help from the church or the government, I teach him that our family takes care of our own. Rosa locked the cash register and pulled on her coat. But here's the thing, mijo. The richest person I know isn't the one with the most money. It's my neighbor, Mrs. Washington. She's got 4 kids and works at the laundromat, making less money than me. But every Sunday, she cooks a big meal and invites everyone in the building who doesn't have family nearby. She shares what little she has because she knows that real wealth is about connections between people, not numbers in a bank account. Elvis walked with Rosa toward the door as she continued. Miguel, my grandson with cerebral palsy, he's got more wisdom at 12 than most adults I know. You know what he told me last week? He said, Abuela, I know I can't do everything other kids can do, but I can love more than anybody. That boy is rich, mijo. Rich in the ways that matter. If Rosa's wisdom about dignity and true wealth is hitting you the way it hit Elvis, please hit that subscribe button. This conversation would completely change how Elvis thought about money and giving, and there are more incredible stories about unexpected teachers coming. As they reached the door, Rosa turned to Elvis with a curious expression. Can I ask you something, mijo? Of course. You got kind eyes and you listen good. You remind me of my grandson Miguel. He's got that same way of paying attention to people like what they say really matters. What kind of work do you do? Elvis hesitated. He'd been so moved by her story that he'd almost forgotten to maintain his anonymity. I work in entertainment. That's nice. You make good money in entertainment? I do okay. Rosa studied his face in the dim light from the store's neon sign. Let me give you some advice about money then. No matter how much you make, remember that money is a tool, not a purpose. The purpose is taking care of people you love and helping others when you can. But here's the important part. When you help people, you got to do it in a way that preserves their dignity. What do you mean? I mean, don't just throw money at people's problems. Ask them what they need. Listen to their stories. Treat them like partners in solving the problem, not like charity cases, because the moment you make someone feel small for needing help, your money becomes worthless. Elvis felt tears forming in his eyes. That's beautiful advice. My Miguel taught me that. He can't do a lot of things, but he can teach people about love and dignity just by being himself. Sometimes the people who seem like they need the most help are actually the ones with the most to teach us. As Rosa walked toward her old car, Elvis called out to her, Rosa, thank you. For the lesson, I mean. She smiled back at him. De nada, mijo. Remember, it's not how much money you have. It's how much love you put into spending it. Elvis never told Rosa who he was that night, but he found ways to help Miguel without compromising the family's dignity. Through intermediaries, he arranged for scholarship programs and research grants that covered Miguel's therapy and equipment costs. The money came with no strings attached and no publicity, just opportunities for a hard-working family to access the help they needed. More importantly, Rosa's lesson fundamentally changed how Elvis approached philanthropy. Instead of just writing checks, he started listening to people's stories, understanding their situations and finding ways to help that preserved their self-respect. He established quiet programs that provided jobs rather than handouts, opportunities rather than charity. When he helped struggling musicians, he hired them for recording sessions. When he helped single mothers, he created employment opportunities at Graceland and his business ventures. Miguel's condition improved significantly with proper therapy, and he eventually became an advocate for children with disabilities. He never knew that Elvis had helped fund his treatment, but he grew up understanding that opportunities came to those who combined hard work with acceptance of help offered with respect. Rosa worked at Jimmy's Corner Grocery until she was 78, finally retiring when Miguel graduated high school and earned a scholarship to study social work. She remained proud that she'd supported her family through honest work, never knowing that a famous singer had learned one of his most important lessons while buying groceries on a Tuesday night. Elvis would often drive by Jimmy's Corner Grocery in later years, sometimes stopping in to buy small items just to see Rosa. She always greeted him the same way, with warmth and dignity, treating him like the good boy she'd seen from the beginning. Have you ever had someone teach you an important lesson about money, dignity, or self-respect? Someone who showed you that true wealth isn't measured in dollars but in how we treat each other? Tell us about them in the comments. Let's celebrate the people who work hard and maintain their dignity no matter what challenges they face. If this story reminded you that the most valuable lessons often come from unexpected teachers, make sure you're subscribed for more incredible stories about ordinary people with extraordinary wisdom. Hit that notification bell for stories about the dignity of work and the true meaning of wealth. The most important thing Rosa taught Elvis wasn't about money at all. As she drove away that night, she left him with a truth that would guide his giving for the rest of his life. The richest thing you can give someone isn't your money. It's your respect for their struggle and your belief in their strength. And Elvis learned that night that real generosity isn't about how much you give, but about how you give it. It's about seeing people not as problems to be solved, but as human beings deserving of dignity, respect, and the chance to maintain their pride while accepting help. Sometimes the most valuable transactions happen not when money changes hands, but when wisdom is freely shared between strangers who recognize each other's humanity. In a small grocery store at closing time, a 72-year-old cashier taught a superstar that the true measure of wealth is how much love you put into spending it. And that lesson was worth far more than any amount of money could ever buy.